Hi and welcome back our channel. Have you ever noticed this? You can understand English while studying alone. But when it's time to speak, your mind suddenly freezes. You know vocabulary. You know grammar. Yet inside your head, you still translate everything. And that habit may be the real reason you still don't feel fluent. Because fluency does not begin when you speak perfectly. It begins when your brain stops translating and starts thinking naturally in English. So today, let's slow down together. No pressure, no difficult grammar lessons, just real English for real life. And maybe by the end of this video, you will realize something important. You do not need more talent to become fluent. You may simply need a new daily habit. Part 1. Why translation is slowing you down. Most English learners study the same way for years. They memorize vocabulary. They practice grammar exercises. They watch videos every day. But during real conversations, they still hesitate. Why? Because their brain is working too hard. First, they hear English. Then they translate it into their native language. Then they create an answer. Finally, they translate the answer back into English. This process is slow and exhausting. And real conversations move too fast for constant translation. That is why many learners panic when native speakers talk naturally. Not because they are unintelligent, but because their brain was trained to translate instead of think. Fluent speakers do not translate every sentence. When they feel tired, they naturally think, "I need some rest." They do not build the sentence through another language first. And this is exactly why thinking in English daily is so powerful. It trains your brain to connect meaning directly with English. At first, this feels uncomfortable. Your thoughts are simple. Your vocabulary feels small. You make mistakes in your head. But that discomfort is normal. Every new habit feels strange before it becomes natural. Think about children learning language. They begin with tiny thoughts. Hungry, sleepy, want water. Simple repetition builds fluency slowly over time. Adults often make language learning too complicated. They want advanced vocabulary immediately. They fear simple English. They are embarrassed by mistakes. But simple English creates strong foundations. Because fluency is not built from difficult words. It is built from automatic thinking. For example, when you wake up in the morning, try thinking, "I'm still tired. It's cold today. I need coffee." Small thoughts like these train your brain naturally. And when English becomes part of your daily thinking, something important changes. Listening becomes easier. Speaking becomes smoother. Confidence grows quietly. Because your brain no longer treats English like a foreign system. It starts feeling familiar. And familiarity creates comfort. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. 10 minutes of real English thinking every day can help more than hours of memorization without mental practice. Your brain changes through repetition. Whatever you repeat daily becomes easier over time. So, if English only exists during study sessions, fluency grows slowly. But if English enters your normal thoughts, your brain adapts much faster. While walking, the weather looks nice. While cooking, this smells good. While feeling stressed, I need a break. These small moments matter more than most learners realize, because language is not only knowledge, it is habit. And the people who become fluent are often not the smartest learners. They are simply the learners who continue thinking in English, a little every single day. Part 2. Why your brain resists English. One of the hardest parts of learning English is not grammar. It is mental resistance. Many learners sit down to practice English, but after a few minutes, their brain automatically returns to their native language. This happens because the brain always prefers familiarity. Your native language has been repeated inside your mind for many years. It feels natural, fast, comfortable. English still feels new. So when conversations become difficult, your brain chooses the easier path. Translation. That is why thinking in English feels slow at first. Not because you are bad at English, but because your brain is building new pathways. And new pathways take time. Imagine learning to write with your opposite hand. At first, every movement feels awkward, but with repetition, the hand slowly becomes more comfortable. Thinking in English works the same way. The problem is that many learners quit during the uncomfortable stage. They think, "My English is not improving." But often, improvement is happening quietly beneath the surface. Your brain is adapting even when progress feels invisible. This is why daily exposure matters so much. Not intense studying once a week. Daily contact. Even small moments help. For example, while driving, there's too much traffic today. While shopping, I forgot to buy milk. While lying in bed at night, I had a long day. These tiny thoughts train your brain to connect life directly with English. And another important thing happens during this process. Fear becomes smaller. Many people feel nervous speaking English because their brain connects English with pressure. Tests, mistakes, embarrassment. But when English becomes part of calm daily thinking, the brain slowly relaxes. English stops feeling dangerous. It starts feeling normal. And confidence grows naturally when the brain feels safe. That is why perfectionism can actually slow your progress. Some learners stop themselves every few seconds. Was that grammar correct? Did I use the right tense? Maybe this sentence sounds stupid. This constant self-judgment creates stress, and stress blocks natural language flow. Remember, your goal is communication, not perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes constantly. Real fluency comes from comfort and repetition, not from perfect grammar every second. So allow yourself to think simple thoughts in imperfect English. That freedom matters. Because language grows faster in a relaxed mind. And over time, your inner voice begins changing. At first, English feels separate from you. But after enough repetition, something surprising happens. English begins appearing automatically inside your thoughts. Without translation, without effort. And that is the moment many learners finally realize. Fluency is not magic. It is daily mental practice repeated long enough for the brain to accept English as part of normal life. Part 3. How to think in English every day. Many learners believe they need long study hours to become fluent. But the truth is often simpler. Fluency grows through small daily habits. And one of the most powerful habits is learning to think in English during ordinary moments. You do not need difficult vocabulary. You do not need perfect grammar. You only need honest thoughts, simple thoughts, real thoughts. For example, when you wake up, you can think, I don't want to get up yet. I'm hungry. I need more sleep. These are natural sentences people use every day. And simple English is powerful because it builds mental speed. Many learners try to sound advanced too early. They search for complicated expressions instead of building strong foundations. But native speakers also use simple language constantly. Fluency is not about sounding impressive. It is about expressing ideas naturally and comfortably. One helpful technique is silent narration. Describe your actions quietly throughout the day. While making coffee, the water is too hot. While cleaning your room, this takes too much time. While checking your phone, I have too many messages. This habit trains your brain to connect actions directly with English. And the more often you repeat these patterns, the more automatic they become. Another important habit is emotional thinking. Do not only describe objects, describe feelings. For example, I feel stressed today. I'm excited about tomorrow. I miss my family. Emotional language stays longer inside memory because feelings create stronger mental connections. That is why you often remember emotional conversations more clearly than vocabulary lists. English becomes more natural when it becomes personal. And here is something many learners forget. You do not need perfect grammar inside your thoughts. If you stop every sentence to judge yourself, your brain becomes tense. Relax. Allow imperfect English to exist. Children learn language through repetition, not perfection. Adults often become silent because they fear mistakes too much. But silence slows fluency. Practice creates fluency, not waiting. And consistency matters more than motivation. Some days you will feel inspired. Other days you will feel tired. Continue anyway. Even 5 minutes of real English thinking every day can slowly reshape your brain. Because language learning is not one big moment. It is thousands of small moments repeated over time. While walking alone, while cooking dinner, while sitting quietly at night. These ordinary moments are powerful training opportunities. And if you continue long enough, something beautiful begins to happen. English no longer feels like a subject you study. It begins feeling like part of your mind, part of your daily life. And that is when true fluency slowly starts becoming real. Part 4. Why silent practice builds real fluency. Many people think speaking is the fastest way to improve English. And yes, speaking is important. But before speaking becomes natural, your mind must first become comfortable with English internally. That is why silent practice is so powerful. When you quietly think in English every day, you train your brain without pressure. Nobody interrupts you. Nobody judges your mistakes. Nobody expects perfect answers. Your mind becomes free to experiment. And this creates something extremely important: mental comfort. Many learners freeze during conversations because their thoughts are still trapped in translation. They know words, but the sentences do not come naturally. So during conversations, their brain works too slowly. That pressure creates panic. But silent thinking changes this over time. The more your brain practices English internally, the faster your thoughts become. At first, your thinking feels slow and broken. But after enough repetition, simple English starts appearing automatically. For example, I'm tired. I need more time. That was interesting. Small thoughts begin arriving naturally without translation. And when thoughts become automatic, speaking becomes easier too, because you are no longer creating sentences from nothing. The language already exists inside your mind. Another hidden benefit of silent practice is emotional connection. When you think about your real life in English, the language becomes personal, not just academic. For example, I'm worried about my future. I had a difficult day. I feel more confident now. These sentences carry emotion, and emotional language stays longer inside memory. This is why daily English thinking can sometimes help more than memorizing large vocabulary lists, because your brain remembers meaning connected to real experience. And something else changes during this process. English stops feeling like a test. It starts feeling like a tool for living, a way to understand your thoughts, a way to describe your emotions, a way to connect with people. That emotional shift is powerful, because confidence grows when language feels familiar instead of frightening. So if speaking still feels difficult right now, do not lose hope. Maybe your mind simply needs more quiet practice first, more calm repetition, more small English thoughts every day. Because true fluency usually begins in silence, long before it appears in conversation. Part 5. The moment. English starts feeling natural. There is a quiet moment every English learner remembers. A moment when English suddenly feels easier. Not perfect, just natural. Maybe you are walking outside. Maybe you are making coffee. Maybe you are sitting alone after a long day. And suddenly, a sentence appears in English automatically, without translation, without effort. That moment feels small to other people. But for a language learner, it feels powerful, because it means your brain is finally becoming familiar with the language. This is how fluency usually grows. Slowly, not in one dramatic moment. Many learners quit too early because they expect fast, visible results. But language learning often changes invisibly first. Your brain builds new connections quietly through repetition. One thought at a time. That is why consistency matters so much. Even short daily practice can create deep changes over time. And another beautiful thing happens when English becomes natural internally. Your personality begins appearing in the language. At first, many learners sound robotic because they focus only on grammar. But when your mind relaxes, emotions begin flowing more naturally. You express opinions more easily. You react more quickly. You begin sounding more like yourself. And this changes your confidence completely. Because real fluency is not only correct English, it is comfortable English. English that feels connected to your real thoughts and emotions. That is why perfection should never become your main goal. Perfection creates pressure. Communication creates connection. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes sometimes. What matters most is expressing yourself clearly and honestly. So stop waiting to become perfect before using English naturally. Use the English you already know. Simple sentences repeated daily are stronger than advanced vocabulary you never use. And remember this, fluency is not built during rare moments of motivation. It is built during ordinary days. Days when you still practice even when progress feels slow. Days when you continue thinking in English even when it feels uncomfortable. Those quiet moments are shaping your future fluency. And if you continue long enough, English slowly stops feeling like a foreign language. It begins feeling like another part of your mind. Calm, natural, familiar. Part 6. Your mind changes before your English does. Most people think learning English is only about vocabulary and grammar. But the deeper change happens inside the mind. Because when you think in English every day, you are also training patience, discipline, and confidence. At first, progress feels slow. Some days you forget simple words. Some days listening still feels difficult. Some days you feel stuck. That is normal. Language learning is not a straight line. Even fluent speakers continue improving throughout life. What matters is consistency. Small effort repeated daily changes the brain over time. And thinking in English is something you can practice anywhere. While walking, while driving, while lying in bed at night. Tiny moments become powerful when repeated every day. That is why you should never underestimate invisible progress. A tree grows underground before people can see it above the surface. Fluency works the same way. Your brain is building new habits quietly, even when results are not obvious yet. And one day you may suddenly realize something surprising. English no longer feels like a school subject. It feels like part of your life, part of your thinking, part of your emotions, part of your identity. And that transformation begins with very small daily choices. One simple sentence, one small thought, one quiet moment of practice. So if your English journey feels slow right now, do not give up. You are improving more than you think. Keep going patiently. Keep thinking in English little by little every day. Because fluency does not arrive loudly. It arrives quietly, through repetition, consistency, and time. Thank you for spending these moments with me today. I hope this video reminded you that you do not need perfect English to grow. You only need the courage to continue. So tomorrow morning, before checking your phone, try thinking one simple sentence in English. Just one. That small habit may slowly change the way your brain learns language forever. And if this video helped you feel calmer or more motivated, consider subscribing to the channel and joining me again for more slow and thoughtful English learning. Take care of yourself and keep thinking in English, one day at a time.